Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and of course, DK in the background, pulling all the levers, running the show. Glenn, is the last week of regular season. I can't believe another season's flown by. Hey, really quickly, all three of us and Brad, this is season 4?
Yeah, man.
Dude, season 4. What on earth? My goodness.
Right.
We started in the basement with my parents' dog hanging out with us while we're doing our first pods to here we are today. So we're really excited and we appreciate all you guys' support. But hey, and Lindsay's been there for a long time. So shout out to you, Lindsay.
No
but
doubt.
We got a lot to get into because of all the things that happened this week, what this game's going to mean, what's going on with Lamar, what's the health of the Ravens in general. So we got a ton to talk about. We're going to have a guest come on here shortly. Really looking forward to that. Anthony Costanza, of course, from the Orange and Black Pod, the Orange and Black Insiders. I'm looking forward to that. He is going to give us the Bengals side of things, and that'll be fun. But what I want to do, Glenn, before we have him on, because he's going to be on in a few minutes, is really kind of lay the baseline for some health going into this game. And then, of course, I think once Anthony's on, we're going to kind of talk about scenarios as far as what we think is going to be the result of the Bills-Bengals game and what it could mean for the Ravens-Bengals matchups now and moving into the playoffs. So I'm going to take a breath. Glenn, let's talk to us about some health. First of all, how you doing, dude?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing good. Excited to get this playoffs going. Not the way I wanted the Ravens to head into the playoffs with the uncertainty, the injuries, and all that. But hey, maybe they'll come back just in time to make things interesting. So let's get into some of these injuries and how they're kind of going to be looking at towards the weekend. So looks like currently Calais Campbell, I expect him to play. He had the day off on Wednesday, but then practiced in full today. So the expectation, I think he'll be back out there. And boy, was he sorely missed in last week's game when the Steelers were running all up and down the field. So it'll be nice to see him back out there. Tyler Huntley, a little worrisome when we've seen him pop up with a right shoulder injury that kept him limited in practice, but I think he's going to be expected to get out there and he'll be able to play. Deshaun Jackson dealing with an illness. Not sure exactly his status for this upcoming week. I think with an illness, hopefully he'll be able to give it a go. But if not, they're going to miss his speed on the outside. Big news for the defense, getting Marcus Peters back. He's participated in a limited fashion both Wednesday and Thursday, so he looks like he's on track to give it a go. And then Ronnie Stanley and Kevon Seymour are both expected to play. And, of course, Lamar Jackson, the big one right in the middle, still not practicing. Missed his, 16th, I believe, consecutive practice. He's not going to be able to go, but maybe we did get a little bit of good news, which we'll get into later, about his playoff availability.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like you said, we'll kind of table the Lamar Jackson conversation. I think the big names, at least for me, depending on the relevancy of this game, but like you said, momentum moving forward is glad to see Marcus Peters back. Really glad to see Calais Campbell back, like you mentioned, and Ronnie Stanley. Just continuing to. You don't really get worried when you see the stuff in the middle of the week, but it's always you have a quick sigh, like okay, especially with Ronnie, when you see him back as a full participant, because you just never know. So yeah, I mean, that's hugely important. The other thing we got to get into the Lamar thing, but there's a lot of things to talk about before we do. Of course, as you guys all know, Damar Hamlin had the tragic incident where he literally had to be brought back to life. And shout out to all those immediate responders who essentially saved his life. It sounds like they're getting some tremendous news, and he is recovering well. Some sports doctors I've seen, well-respected sports doctors, have come out and said there's a chance that he could play again, which is just incredible to me. So, look, he's a long way from that, but we hope he continues to heal. Apparently today, I believe he asked who won the game.
Crazy.
So super dedicated. But we're going to have our guest on here in a couple minutes. Let's get
the annual lighting going out.
Oh, geez. Let's get to these super chats. DK, if you want to throw up this one from Sean. Says Sean Pisker says, boys, have something I need to ask to talk me off a ledge. Do you think Lamar is holding out, or is he still injured? I was thinking this was just an injury, but my gut says he's holding out. I hope that's not the case. Talk me off the ledge. Sean, you're going to have to hang on the ledge for a couple minutes because we are going to talk about that. Sorry, dude. Just hang on. I just want to say one thing. Glenn, you will think this is absolutely hilarious. I tweeted that I was going on the Orange and Black Insider show that was live just a few minutes ago, and your boy was. I told Ravensflock to show up. Your boy was in the super chat, dude. Gave him $20.
Sean Pisker?
No, dude.
Who?
Back of the head guy.
No, dude. No.
he was there, dude.
No.
He said, "What's up, boys?" I love it. I figured you'd like to hear that, so I just wanted to let you know. Well, Sean, let's just get to it. There are two sides of the story here. Some people believe, and it seems to be generated, Glenn. I've been thinking about this since yesterday. A lot of the flames are being stoked by the local media, in my opinion. There are some national media, but they're really only picking up on local media stuff. I've heard reports that the Ravens have said that Lamar is a slacker, that he could play if he wants to, that this is a holdout, that he doesn't want to wear a brace, all these things, right? But what I want to do before we bring Anthony in here is play a quick clip, and this is Ian Rappaport talking about the instance, because this is the other side of the story, and to be honest with you, this is the one that I tend to believe in. I think Glenn is the same. So DK, if you can roll this tape, I think this is important to talk about because there's two sides to the story, and I think it could be as simple as this.
Hey, what's going on with Lamar?
Dude, this is getting ugly.
Not ugly. Not ugly.
Yeah, it is.
What happened?
Well,
Come on.
We'll bring it up after Ian does his little bullshit.
Yeah.
Here is where it stands. He's probably not going to play this week because he hasn't practiced yesterday. It'll be 5 weeks for an injury that I think most people thought would take 3. PCLs take a little bit longer, and they're not going to risk it. So I was told that they are confident in his return for the playoffs. If he's not out there for the playoffs, then it would be, okay, he had a setback. I don't think it's contract related, and I don't think it's effort related. I'm sure it sucks for everyone, though. And I know he wants to be out there, and they want to be out there, but he is just not ready.
So I said your little bullshit thing because I thought you were going to talk about the Lamar contract situation, which I think is what Tone Diggs was alluding to. But you wanted with the playing thing. So we appreciate that information. I apologize for assuming you were just going to lie. You know, I do apologize for that because you have sources and everything like that. We're just judging from outside looking in. This quote that made it into the Baltimore Sun Sentinel and then onto Reddit from Mueller and Sando. Harbaugh clearly thinks Lamar should be back. He's trying to stay out of it and take the high road. Sando going to say, Mike Preston of the Baltimore Sun wrote in a mailbag column that it's no secret between the coaches and top members of the front office that Jackson is a slacker. Source, the Athletic Football Show, the football GM with Randy Mueller and Mike Sando. This slacker won the MVP.
Amen.
Yeah.
This slacker won a playoff game. This slacker's absence has been wildly visible over the last month or so. Why is this happening, Rap? Why are your people talking shit on their guy? Why is this happening?
I've talked to my people, and nobody has said that he's a slacker.
Okay.
They say it just takes time. And I think I get particularly, not that my opinion matters, who cares, but I get particularly annoyed at the frustration when a player is not back from an injury because rehab is hard. All injuries are different, and we don't know. Yep. So, like, you know, it's like when people were frustrated with Bakhtiari not being back out there last year, and then he turns out he needed a whole other surgery, and he's having to come back and play like normal, even though his knee doesn't feel normal, which is what happens after surgery.
Yeah, you can cut it.
This is all hard, and people like me who, you know, never had a real injury like that, like.
Yeah, dude. So, look, I mean,
he's just hurt.
I think it's as simple as that.
He's hurt. He's just hurt. But look, I don't want to make Anthony wait any longer. Let's get Anthony in here.
Let's do it.
He's been patient enough waiting in the waiting room. What's going on?
I got all the time in the world for you, gents. Couple of things real quick. Glenn, we missed you. We missed you. We got to get you on next time. We missed you, buddy.
Yes.
And who was I felt so bad. I did not acknowledge that super chat that you were talking about, because my co-host had to bail because he had like bloody nose issues and all kinds of sinus issues going on. So we had to bail mid-show. And so I was kind of playing a little bit of a shell game there. So I felt bad that I did not acknowledge that. So I don't remember who it was.
Look, that guy or gal is a bit of he's up to something nefarious. Okay. I don't know if Jimmy told you some of the history of this commenter, but he's asked for some very odd requests from me specifically. Wants to see the back of my head, which I can only imagine has, and then wants to see my leg. So yeah,
wow.
Look, that person, I don't know if they have a very odd sense of humor. Yeah, wanted to see the specific word was throat. Look,
your throat?
Yes, clearly, but he does usually provide a $50 super chat, so it makes it tempting to give the guy
oblige. Yeah, I know.
Glenn can be bought, ladies and gentlemen. He can be bought at a price.
So yeah, I don't know if that person has a very sick and hilarious sense of humor, or if they're really up to some no good with But hey, what can you do here? But thanks so much for joining us. This has been a crazy last couple weeks. Certainly, your team, the Bengals, were kind of in the center of it. Them and the Bills, of course. But that's kind of where I want to start. Is last week, Anthony. How are the players handling what happened last week? And do you think that there's going to be any residual effects going forward for this team that saw it firsthand?
Well, it sounds, obviously, I think they would be probably taking it better than the Bills players were, because it's their guy, their locker room guy, all that sort of thing. The good news and the best news is that Damar Hamlin is seemingly recovering. It's slow, but it sounds like he's making some progress, which is good. And I think both teams can kind of start taking some solace in that, and everybody can kind of start moving forward and transitioning to other things, obviously keeping their mind on him and his health first and foremost. But yeah, this is something that I'm very interested to see how both of these teams respond, not only just from the visuals and images that they have in their mind's eye from everything that transpired on Monday night on the field, but now the issues with seeding and who's going to play who, what's the result of this game, all of that they now have to also deal with on top of everything that they witnessed and saw, and probably have some psychological things that they're dealing with on all of that front. So I'm very interested. I will say this, I can't speak intimately about the Bills, but I will say this, that this team and its leadership has shown quite a bit of fortitude through a lot of different things over the past couple of seasons, whether it's Joe Burrow's knee injury and coming back from that and taking him to the Super Bowl the very next year, whether it's Zach Taylor riding the wave of a complete overhaul of the team and getting a lot of fan hate, quite honestly, and riding that into a Super Bowl. And then, this year coming off of an 0-2 start and doing all of that and getting back into the playoffs here, I tend to think that the fortitude is there, as well as the leadership that was shown by both teams in terms of handling this entire situation on Monday night. The Bills did an outstanding job, their coaches and players, and I think the Bengals did as well. So I'd like to say that I'm confident that they will deal with this okay, but it's just such a thing that, we've never seen before. So it's so hard to really say with any certainty as to how the rebound will be for both of these teams.
Yeah, I can only imagine, no details needed, but unfortunately I've been in a situation where I've seen someone die, and it's hard to be the same after, right? When you visibly see these things, and obviously the Damar is not dead, and so we thank goodness for that. But having to be resuscitated and watching humans' heart stop is really hard to get over, right? Especially with social media, and it's always in the front of people's minds. It's hard to compartmentalize and kind of just say, I'm going to set that to the side.
Blunt force trauma is something that these guys deal with on a play-to-play basis. And so it's like, how are you not thinking about that if you're a defender and you see
that's not going to happen to me?
A shoulder coming to your chest. How is that? That's the tough part, is can you still stick your nose in there and tackle as aggressively as you would have previously?
Right. That's a great point, Glenn. Just quickly, I think the issue is it's not, somebody, you witness a car accident. It's something that you witness in terms of like someone is doing the same job that you are doing currently, and they did your job and they had this weird, crazy injury, and how your mind deals with that. I don't know, but it's definitely going to be something to watch with these two teams in terms of how they rebound and how they deal with this playoff shell game now that's kind of occurring.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Talk to me a little bit about the health of the Bengals right now. Are there any
Got me
lingering...
pissed off, Anthony. They're so damn healthy every year.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I feel like for a long time, the Bengals people looked at them and their lack of facilities and stuff like that. And said, well, how can these guys stay healthy? But look, they're just callousing them up, man. They're just callousing them up. That might be the situation, but what's going on there?
Well, let me say this first of all about the facility stuff. They've now got the permanent indoor facility. They kind of are doing things the right way, so to speak. So maybe that's helping some things on the injury front. But you're catching them at a time where you can be jealous of them, because a few weeks ago this team was pretty battered up, and they are where they're at. Really is, yes, they're healthy, but they're getting guys that are just coming off some kind of somewhat serious injuries. Trey Hendrickson has a broken wrist. I think that's kind of towards the end of healing up. He has played the past couple of weeks with it, because doctors told him that playing won't make it worse. It'll just have to heal that. So he decided to kind of play limited snaps. Sam Hubbard will return this week after a calf injury. He looked like he was maybe going to return last week, but did not. So he's looking to come back this week. Mike Hilton, the cornerback, has been in and out of the lineup. Tyler Boyd had the gross dislocated finger that kind of punctured the skin a few weeks ago, so he had to have surgery on that. And so now you're kind of getting towards the tail end of the recovery time for a lot of these guys. And so they're getting healthy at the right time, Glenn, I think is kind of more what's happening with the Bengals. So they're coming into this one pretty healthy. The question is, and I talked to James about it on our show, is what is this game going to look like for both teams in terms of strategy, how much playing time, all of that. If the Bengals can't really advance, or, they're kind of locked into that 3 seed, I don't know that we're going to see all that much from the starters and whatnot, but they also only played a quarter of football last week. So, you do want to make sure there's not rust that accumulates and all that kind of stuff too. Kind of some treacherous waters to navigate here, I think, a little bit for the Bengals, but they are getting healthier at the right time, which is good.
Well, let me ask you, how do you, so we'll assume that it's Bengals 3, Ravens, what would that be? Ravens 6 then. And they end up playing each other, and that ends up being the matchup. So how do the Bengals play this thing? How do they handle this last week of the season, in your opinion?
Well, it totally depends on what's decided here. I mean, I think they would like to potentially gun for that 2 seed if possible. I don't really see many scenarios where it works out where they get past this 3 seed. I think the teams are kind of locked in here. I mean, maybe if they call this a no contest, the Bengals, I don't know. I tend to think that this is going to kind of be with both of these teams in the playoffs and potentially facing each other the next week. I don't think the Bengals are going to want to show much of anything and or risk much of anything in terms of injury. I don't think they want to show their game plan hand. I don't think they want to do a lot of that. And some of these guys who are coming back from injury still have maybe a propensity to further an injury potentially if there's an issue. So I think they'll kind of play it safe, especially depending on what's being decided. I just saw before we took before I came on the air here that it looks as if the competition committee was going to meet at 6 p.m. Eastern Thursday night, but then now it looks like that might be Friday morning in terms of how that's going to go. So, that may be decided. The fates of all of that may be decided tomorrow based on all of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they extend the league, push everything back a week, or just call it, cancel the game entirely. We'll kind of have to wait and see there. But one thing I want to ask about the team, whether it's this game or going into the playoffs, Joe Burrow has done a fantastic job of limiting the amount of hits he's taken and specifically sacks he's taken over the last, 6 games. I think I have here. He's gotten sacked 7 times in 6 games, which is that's a win for Joe Burrow and this Bengals team. Yeah. And my question, I don't know if they've necessarily gotten better up front. So how do you explain, because they lose Lyle Collins, but how do you explain the fact that they have only given up 7 sacks in the last 6 games?
Couple of different things. Game plan switching up where you kind of mix up getting the ball out quickly and taking your shots when they're there. But also, I mean, this offensive line is playing better. You got to remember, even with Lyle Collins out, he was the 4th starter on the offensive line that they replaced from the year prior. So they still have 3 new starters on this offensive line, and that interior is playing much, much better than last year's group. You're talking about Ted Karras at center, Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay at right guard, and rookie Cordell Volson going in there at left guard. And oddly enough, the bulk of the sacks given up this year have been from Jonah Williams, the guy who's been on the left tackle, who's been on the line for, years now, since 2019. He was the first pick by Zach Taylor. So, really what they're doing up front is they are managing twists and stunts a lot better on the interior in terms of passing off players and passing off protection. They're doing a lot better with that. And a guy that is helping them out immensely, you saw him come in relief and have a couple of nice games when Joe Mixon went down with a concussion. Samaje Perine is immensely valuable as a pass protector back there. He'll get the occasional carry, the occasional pass in the passing game and whatnot, but he helps out with blitzes and other pass protection pickups, and he is very, very helpful in that regard. So I think it's game plan, getting the ball out a little quicker than they did earlier in this season. And they came out of the gates a little greedy. They wanted to get that big play all the time to Jamar Chase down the field, and they wanted to get, take the big 5-7 step drops and bombs away type of thing. And, Burrow was getting hit and it just wasn't working very well. And so now they've adjusted and adjusted to what defenses kind of give them a little bit. And they pick their shots when they're there, and they, kind of pick apart defenses and get the ball out a little more quickly than they were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask, because, Glenn and I were at that game, that primetime game in M&T Bank Stadium. That was
That's
a really
right. Don't
close...
forget that, Anthony. Don't forget last time we played. What happened?
Right. That's right. Well, that's when the game plan kind of changed.
Yeah.
I think you started to see some things in their run game. They did some RPO stuff with Mixon that was kind of being a little bit more effective than they were in prior weeks, and they were starting to kind of adjust the passing game a little bit. But that's kind of the game, James. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's kind of the game a little bit where you started to see a little bit of the adjustment.
Well, Glenn and I, if you remember, we were talking about that in game, because there was a lot that was coming out quick, that was underneath, that was off to the side. There was a few early to Jamar. And it's funny because I felt like those played in that instance into the Ravens' hands defensively, because they were able to get some momentum where they thought in their head, oh, well, Jamar just got a gain of 1, right? Like a couple times in a row, and they're able to get some early tackles near the line of scrimmage, and they get a little excited. But really my question is, they've obviously improved as a team throughout the season as the season has gone on. So we're facing a much different team. In a lot of senses, the Bengals will also be facing a different team. Now we have Roquan Smith defensively, right? Like offensive unit of the Bengals versus the Ravens defensive unit. What do you see that they can do to have more success against this defense that maybe they were not able to do early on?
It's a really big cop-out answer on my part, but I guess I would say that, what they need to do is do what they've done in this win streak. And that's just a little bit of everything. Getting the ball out a little more quickly, using T. Higgins a lot. I mean, I know everybody says Jamar Chase. And of course he is electric. He is a big weapon. Tyler Boyd is a reliable guy across the middle. But T. Higgins just 50-50 balls. And when Burrow needs a bailout, when he needs a big play across the middle, those intermediate routes that T. Higgins gives you with that size, that catch radius, he is a very, very valuable player. So I think using T. Higgins, picking your spots and when to go deep. And here's the key, guys. If you look at Burrow's numbers, especially in this last half, he's playing really, really well. If you notice the sporadic interceptions, there's a couple of trends with it. Number one, the big bulk of his interceptions come from the division teams, the teams who have seen him and played against him a number of times already. And number two, where they come from is a lot of batted balls at or near the line of scrimmage that get tipped up and become an opportunity for the defense. So if that's the one thing with this short passing game and intermediate passing game that the Bengals have kind of adopted a bit more, that I get concerned about, especially when playing a division team who has seen Burrow and the Bengals before, is that they can see that he's waiting for that short drag route to develop, and they can, instead of, teeing off and trying to get to him to sack him, they sit back and they jump and they time their jump, ball gets tipped, an interception, and that's a game-changing play. So those are the things I'm kind of worried about a little bit, particularly when you're talking about Bengals and Ravens in the postseason. These teams are pretty familiar with each other, and the defenses, particularly, all three of them really have created these kinds of plays against Burrow, which have been kind of killers.
Glenn, I got one more follow-up here. Who do you think that this game favors? What unit? Ravens offense, defense, Bengals offense, defense. Who do you think it favors the most? The fact that they're so familiar with one another.
Man, I see a lot of pushes. I really see a lot of pushes. I think what the Ravens defense has shown this year has been incredibly impressive. And I think this transition that the Bengals have made on offense has been incredibly impressive. I think when you look at the stars on the Ravens defense as opposed to the Bengals defense don't have the household names or the big stars. They just do everything pretty well, right? I mean, they just get that timely sack. They get that timely turnover and they tackle well. They get off the field. So, I just see a lot of pushes, and I see a lot of pushes. That's why, James, you and I talked about on our show about, concern about these teams facing each other 3 times potentially when you get to the postseason. That's what kind of concerns me a little bit, is just they counter each other very well, it seems. And so I think I'm kind of, honestly, I'm looking a little bit to the wild card round at this point.
Yeah.
I don't see that there's much happening in week 18 that based on how things are going to play out. So I'm kind of previewing that a little bit. So I look at it very similar to the result that we saw on that on that primetime game a few weeks ago. Not necessarily Ravens winning. Maybe that's the case. Maybe the Bengals pulled out, but I see a close, kind of not so pretty game where the teams just counter each other well because they know each other well, and they've built each other's teams to kind of play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses pretty well.
Yeah, and of course, this is going to be a much different matchup on both sides, really. And of course, I'm also talking kind of about that anticipated playoff matchup and not this weekend, because I think this weekend it's likely that we won't see. I mean, obviously, we're not going to see Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they bench some, if the Ravens bench some other of their key players. And the Bengals, if they have nothing to play for, it'll be interesting to see how Zach Taylor approaches the rust versus rest kind of conundrum that a lot of coaches face. Because, I mean, just on defense, the Ravens made a pretty big trade in bringing in Roquan Smith. And since he got here, they have been a different level. He wasn't there in that first matchup. And so I look at what Hayden Hurst was able to do, and I go, well, it's not going to be as easy for Hayden Hurst with Roquan roaming the middle. But then, of course, also T. Higgins got hurt in like the opening drive of that game. And that was a massive change in the game. And it kind of helped the Ravens focus their attentions on Jamar Chase and really bottle him up, which wasn't the case last season. So I think this game, look, people can say and count the Ravens out if they want. If Lamar Jackson's under center, I think you're right, Anthony. I think this game is going to be very highly contested. I think it's going to be a close game either way. But I'm certainly not ready to write the Ravens off if they find each other meeting up in the playoffs.
Yeah, Anthony, just so you know, that's really Glenn just blowing off some steam, I think. I think a lot of people here in Baltimore are ready to send in the resignation letter. They're
now,
like,
look, if Lamar's not out there, resignation letter. I'm sending it in, Jimbo. If we don't have, if Tyler Huntley, look, I know that's your guy, Jimbo.
Yeah.
If Tyler Huntley's under center, this could be hammer time.
Yeah, just kiss it goodbye. I mean, that's just what it is, right? Like, yeah, absolutely.
But Anthony, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time and your patience while we were letting Rappaport take over the show for a couple minutes there. But Anthony, can we do this again if what we're thinking will take place in the Ravens matchup in a couple weeks?
Only if you guys can come on my show, then yes, we can do it. Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it. Yeah, I mean, you guys are the best, and one of my go-to coverage people for Ravens stuff for sure. So
same here. Absolutely. Make sure you guys check Anthony out. Anthony, where can folks find the pod? Where can they find you on YouTube? Obviously, I know you guys are crushing it over there. So where can they locate all your stuff? We got some folks, let's see, some Houday in the chat here. So let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, the Orange and Black Insider. It's one of the podcasts on Cincy Jungle, which is it's like I'm going like multi layers here, but SB Nation's Bengals blog is called Cincy Jungle, and then we do a show called the Orange and Black Insider, which is part of the channel. That's on YouTube, and then of course it's all on every audio platform, every major audio platform, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all the major ones were there. So go check it out. We do a few shows per week. We try and get between the shows that we do and some of the others on the podcast channel, we try and hammer content almost every day of the week. So that's and then we bring great coverage, people like you guys on to help us get a peek over the other side of the fence, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, man. Enjoy your evening. We're hoping for health in this upcoming game, and obviously preparation for the much anticipated matchup in the playoffs, which will be the most likely outcome. So thank you again, Anthony. Make sure you guys give him a follow, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this game could end up being a bunch of backups. I think that's kind of
Anthony Brown Jr. under center.
Now, DK, I think, has something queued up for maybe finding out a little bit more about that unresolved.
Oh, I think Anthony was mentioning this. Yeah.
Yeah, so Pro Football Talk tweeted out that, quote, I'm now hearing from multiple sources that there will be an owners meeting on Friday regarding the AFC playoff seeding issue. So, I mean, man, it's just such a tough call on what's the right thing to do. I think what they have benefiting them is that whatever decision they come up with, I can't imagine teams are going to be very vocal in voicing their displeasure with it.
Right, whether they're happy with it or not.
So that's the advantage they have, is that I don't think they're going to get a lot of pushback no matter who ends up, if someone ends up with a perceived short end of the stick, they're not going to say anything. So whatever they come up with is what, everybody will do, but it will be interesting to see if they go with a tie, if they just erase the game entirely, act like it didn't happen. If they try and move the whole league back, because there is a 2-week gap between the championship round and the Super Bowl. So there is an opportunity to maybe push everything back a week. But, we'll have to wait until Friday at the very earliest to hear what they decide.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing, Glenn, I kind of want to change gears just for a second here and get to, I think, we kind of talked about Sean's super chat question here, but I know that DK also has one other one that's in the queue. So I want to talk about this. It's kind of in the same vein as Sean's, but Masi says, what would you consider an offer Ravens can't refuse for a trade for Lamar? How many picks? And would you rather draft new quarterback or a free agent with experience? How do you rate Derek Carr? Oh, woo! Masi is out on the edge, man. Yeah. So this is assuming a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it's funny. I want to tell you guys, for the sake of full transparency, I called Glenn last night because I was convinced that we were never going to see Lamar Jackson again in a Ravens uniform. I've taken a complete 180, and I just don't believe that's the case. I just think people need stuff to talk about. Get Up needs things to talk about. Like, everyone wants to speculate. I don't buy it yet until someone of a credible source tells me that this is the case. I'm not going to believe. Mm-hmm. So we also heard today, the only doctor I've heard talk about his PCL said it's 4 to 6 weeks. I've only heard one doctor talk about it. He said 4 to 6 weeks. We're just finishing week 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it that?
We're coming up on week 4, aren't we? Now, I don't know. The Ravens said it was 2 to 4. That doesn't mean that that every injury is different. So
yeah. And the PCL this isn't like some minuscule, meaningless injury. The PCL is what Sean Merriman tore, and he never came back to be the same. Now, he also had some PED issues that maybe people could point to, but I mean, he's just one example of that's a serious injury. If he comes back too early and tears that PCL, I mean, that's a serious rehab and surgery that he's going to be going for. So I have no problem if he's not ready, him not playing. Now, just to entertain Massey's comment, if let's say they both come out and say they're at an impasse, it's not going to work.
Yep.
What trade would offer where they can't refuse? It would have to be the single biggest haul in history of trades, right? They would have to be 3 1s and some ancillary picks, some throw-ins,
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm going to, absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's younger than a lot of these young studs around the league. He's younger than Joe Burrow.
Isn't he younger than the starting quarterback for Georgia?
He's younger, yes, than
believe
the
he's
guy
younger.
playing Stetson Bennett, who's playing
Yes.
in the national championship. He's younger than that guy. I mean, so it would have to be an unprecedented haul for the absolute ages. And I think he would command that if that it came to that point. Now, as far as Derek Carr, I'm not a Derek Carr hater. I think Derek Carr is underrated. I mean, Derek Carr, to me, I know people bag on him. Derek Carr's led this league in passing yards. He's never had a defense better than 22nd in the league in his entire career, and he currently has the 30th ranked defense in the league, and yet they're banging on him saying it's his fault. I'm not one of those people. Do I want Derek Carr? Not. I mean, I think you'd have to have the right system. It would have to be a complete rehaul of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Derek Carr hater at all. I think he's been in a lot of unfortunate situations, made the best of most of them. And I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's a top 12 quarterback at the worst in the league. And I think anybody who gets him is getting a heck of a player.
Look, let me tell you what, Glenn. I don't disagree with you, but Mossy, you know what you're doing right now, dude? You're in a bad argument, and you're online looking up how to get a divorce, bro. That's what you're doing, dude. Don't even go there. This does nothing for the relationship, dude. Nothing positive. I will not entertain this question until I know for a fact that we are 100,000% there. Like, I don't want to think about Derek Carr under center. No offense to Derek Carr, but I want number 8.
I'd want a young guy if we were moving on from Lamar, by the way.
Full tear down, but I don't even want to. I can't even stomach it.
You can't get there. I got you.
I can't. So, all that being said, I just think it's a bunch of hoopla. It's a bunch of who knows what. Look, at the end of the day, Lamar doesn't have an agent. He doesn't have, who's leaking this stuff to all these
dude,
local
that's
media
the problem.
members?
It's all people just making stuff up because they're so frustrated that they can't get anything
and
out
guess
of the
what,
camp.
Glenn? When you're a media member and you ain't got nothing, I'm not bagging on media members. If you're anyone, and you want some clout and you're kind of feeling tired today, you know
Throw
what
it
you do?
up there.
Let me put Lamar Jackson.
But why is
Preston?
Preston?
It's easy.
Mike Preston has been around, he's been with the Baltimore Sun forever. He's a guy. Why is he doing this? Like, I don't understand it. It's like he's just causing trouble. I don't understand. I can't get it. Who could possibly be leaking anything to Mike Preston?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand it.
Chris Sims said that the last week, according to what he's heard, the knee was still extremely swollen.
That's not
so. Look, that's what it is at the end of the day. So he needs another 14 days. He needs another 14 days. But one thing I do want to say, though, Glenn, when the Ravens come to a deal with Lamar Jackson, okay, because when they do, they're going to have a conversation about his weapons. And I'm manifesting this. Manifesting it, okay? Number 17 is coming to Baltimore, dude, on a blockbuster trade from the Raiders. I've been thinking about this all day. It's getting done.
You know how much money he makes?
It doesn't even matter.
It matters.
Eric DeCosta's going all in because now he's seeing what Lamar Jackson can do with a single weapon along with the attack that he already has. Holy crap. He's going in, dude. That's all I'm saying, bro. You heard it here first. You heard it here.
I would love it. I just don't know how they pay him.
Yeah, I don't know yet either, but
I'll tell you what, if they pay him, say goodbye to Roquan.
You can franchise Roquan for 1 year, right?
Where are you going to get the money?
You still don't have the money. Look, it's getting done. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, if they bring him, they might as well bring Derek Carr. I thought they were a package deal. Best buds for life.
Wait, no, we want Lamar and Devontae.
Okay, well, look, I mean, the Raiders said, look, we got your best buddy here. Please sign with us. And they got rid of his best buddy. And then Adam says, well, I wanted to be a Raider before Derek Carr was there. So he's all of a sudden fine with Derek Carr not being there. Jared says, do you think Lamar would wear a brace for the playoffs? I think there was a report that he didn't want to, but if I was him, I couldn't watch this offense without me stinking up in the playoffs. Yeah, I heard the same report about the knee brace and how the team was pushing him to wear it. He didn't want to. Look.
Who's saying this stuff, though? Is it Lamar saying this to someone? Is it the Ravens staff saying this to someone?
I find it extremely hard to believe that with all the injury issues the Ravens have had over the last 2 years, that John Harbaugh will be pushing anyone to play when they're less than 100%, especially with a knee injury. It would be mind-blowing to me. I don't believe it. I think it's ridiculous. Look, if Lamar Jackson doesn't want to play with a knee brace because he thinks his knee isn't healthy, that is fine with me. That's what I would do. That's what I expect most people to do. If your knee is swollen and not ready, you're not going to play NFL. I wouldn't play backyard football, much less NFL football against the greatest athletes in the world who are paid to try and rip your head off. It's nonsensical.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. For those of you who are wondering, like, sit down on your couch and ask your significant other, hey, if I told you I wasn't 100% ready to go out there and play, would you be pushing me, or would you realize it's in my best interest not to? Obviously, they would say, don't play then.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah, so I guess to DK's point, what about in the playoffs? Is he willing to wear
if
the
a guy
brace?
isn't ready to play, then a guy isn't ready to play. I mean, that's
And
just,
it would suck.
I don't even
right?
understand
Like,
what the conversation is. Like, if he's healthy, then he plays, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Now, if it's a different story, if we find out that he was healthy and holding out, which I don't think is the case, that would be a whole different conversation. But anybody who's healthy, they play. If they're not healthy, they shouldn't play. It's as simple
Now,
as
I
that.
do want to say one more thing, and really quickly. I know we're going to move on from this, but because it is in the comment, I've heard a lot of other. It's in the chat, and I've heard a lot of other people mention it. I think that if Lamar really thinks he can go to the table and ask for the Deshaun Watson's deal after a second year in a row of being injured and not performing at an MVP level for an entire season, I think he's delusional.
Well, also, no owner wants to do that.
Right. And it's not like he put anyone in a bind and said, dude, no one, you know what I mean? He didn't
Yeah, like if he went out there and just
balled out.
completely balled out, then it's a different conversation, probably. But
I think
also,
that's
let's
wrong.
remember the precedent in Cleveland. It's not looking too hot right now.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, I don't know if there might be. Now, look, all it takes is one owner, Jimbo. And one owner who is trying to sell tickets could step out there. That's fair. I don't think it'll be one of the long-standing. Like, I don't think it'll be one of the mainstays. It'll probably be like a new owner, maybe Carolina.
Well, have you heard the rumors about the Raiders? I can tell you what ain't the Raiders because the Raiders owner.
They don't have the money.
He's a Burrow.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough money to put that in an account.
He can't put that in an escrow account.
Yeah.
Shoot, Bashoti's got way more money than him.
Yeah, that guy is struggling. So it would have to be.
Dude can't even pay for a haircut.
Dude, he has got the worst hair. If nobody has seen the Raiders owner, Mark Davis's haircut, what is that? What?
Dude, if anybody watches Parks and Rec and remembers the Nipple King, he's the owner of a rubber nipple factory, like they call him the Nipple King, but he's a frugal business owner who cuts his own hair, and he looks just like Mark Davis. It's hilarious. It's so bad.
And by the way, Jimbo, I just have to say this. Anyone who thinks that the Ravens sabotaged Lamar Jackson's season this year so they wouldn't have to pay him as much is the most ridiculous, asinine statement I've ever. So the team purposely put bad players around him so he wouldn't play well so they didn't have to pay him. That is the dumbest thing I may have ever heard in the history of sports theories, pontificate, anything. That is nonsense. These guys want to win at all costs. The margin of victory between one team to the next is so razor thin. You think a team is actively sabotaging their own success to not pay their quarterback? That is so ridiculously crazy. Wow. Now you can argue with their philosophy and say that they have the wrong philosophy, all that. That's fine. But to say they're actively sabotaging their own team so they don't have to pay their quarterback, nonsense.
Yeah,
absolute nonsense.
What does he say? It's acetone. It's not even asinine. It's acetone.
Yes, exactly. That's a 12.
That's
That is just no team would ever do that. If Bashotti, just like he did with Flacco, he gladly signed that check because Flacco left him no choice.
And another one.
Exactly. Sean says, Glenn, side note, I'd love to play you in Madden. You got to DM me, man. Let's get it.
DM me.
You know what I'm saying? Slide into the DM, Sean. to make something happen.
Look, all I know is you guys don't want to see me in Madden, dude.
Huh?
See me in some Madden, dude.
Who?
Me.
Come on, Jim.
Dude, I'll tear
Come on,
you
dude.
up.
Come on.
No,
Jim.
I'm
I'm
see me
pretty
in
sure
some-
Cam would beat you in Madden.
Oh, dude, with one hand on a controller and the other one tied behind his back. For sure. Absolutely.
Dude, I came home from work. Cam and Frenchie were playing 2 versus 2 on Madden. He's 9. And they won. Competitive.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I want Super Smash Brothers N64, and I'll give you a fight.
There we go.
Yeah,
There
dude.
we go. Old school. Jared says
Right.
Jamison Hensley is probably the one leaking the info since everyone got on him for the article he put out about Lamar's homophobic tweet. And honestly, look, I have nothing against Jamison Hensley. I think he's kind of, I mean, we've talked to him. He's not the friendliest in the Ravens media. I'll say that.
ESPN.
But yeah, exactly. He's very proud of himself. But he also got into a beef, I believe, with Matthew Judon towards the end of his tenure here. That would got a little heated between those two guys. So this isn't Jamison's first time putting out some information that's been questioned by the source.
All I can say is I'm Team Zrebeck.
Yeah, we're Team Zrebeck for sure. No doubt. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, who knows what the truth is? That's the problem.
Cliff
When
Brown. Dude, can I tell you guys a quick story?
Yeah, let's
Glenn,
go.
you know the story. So we were at practice one day and we're trying to talk to some media folks. They know a lot of us know us by now and consider us their colleagues, which is nice of them. But I walked up to Cliff Brown. You guys might know him, of course. He works for the Ravens, writes and things like that for the Ravens. Everyone else tells me to hit him up on social media, right? And we can line something up. And I walked up to Cliff and I'm like, hey, Cliff, it's nice to meet you, this, that, and the other. He said, and I said, we'd love to have him on the show. He said, sure, let me give you my phone number. Dude, in 2 minutes, I had Cliff Brown's digits. That's how nice of a person he is.
And really everyone else in the media.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, he's the only one that just gave me his phone number.
That's right. Getting them digits.
Dude,
Yeah, buddy.
just a stall to the earth, dude. My goodness. Anyway, so shout out to Cliff.
Yeah, buddy. No
Anyway,
doubt.
so Glenn, let's talk about this game this week. We haven't even, dude, we've been on the show for 46 minutes. We haven't even really gotten into anything but health.
Well,
we
look,
can kind of get into some things so we can roll through some stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is until we find the league's decision on what, how all this is going to work out.
Yeah.
This game could ultimately be a bunch of backups. Now, the Ravens are going to be out there with backups at certain positions because of health issues. But
yeah,
my question to you, Jimbo, if this game ultimately ends up being meaningless for the division, do you still think it's in the Ravens' best interest to try and win at all costs, even if it just means them moving from the 6 seed to the 5 seed?
and then let's see, who do you? Oh,
So then you go at Jacksonville rather than having to go at Cincy. Now other things would have to happen. It's not simply the Ravens win and they're the 5 seed. There's some other things that would have to take place. But yeah, I mean, do you think is it worth it enough to have to bump up to the 5 spot? Do you go all out and you give it everything you got?
I don't know, because for me, then what are you sending to your team? What message are you sending to your team? Are you saying, oh, we're intimidated by the Bengals, so it matters that much to us more than health? We're going to sacrifice a seed.
Well, I mean, all teams fight for better seeding. It doesn't
For
necessarily
sure,
mean
right?
you're
Like you
scared.
could use that logic too and just say, guys, we want the best seeding we can get, right? Like you could say that as well. I don't know. I don't know
we
how
would
many of
need
those
LA to
decisions-
lose. The Chargers have to lose, and we have to win.
Who are they playing?
Let me look that up here. Let's see. The Chargers, they play. Where's the lightning bolt at? I'll have to find that, Jimbo. But I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that
Let me
do you? For me, I love the fact. Oh, here we go. They play at Denver.
Oh, so then don't even count on it. They're gonna win.
Likely they'll win. Yeah.
Well, and Russ isn't even there, right? Like is
Is he there or is he
Isn't
not
he-
there? I thought he played last week.
did he? Okay, I
Yeah,
thought
because he was crying. They barely lost. He was like crying at the podium because his
Yeah.
teammates defended him.
Yeah.
But to me, I would much rather go to Jacksonville to take on an 8-8 Jaguars team in a beautiful weather than go
Yeah.
to Cincinnati. Now, I will say that I think the Ravens obviously have advantages of playing a team 3 times, and not just
Right.
that, a team in their division that they know very well inside and out. So I can see advantages on both sides. But man, I'd love to see Lamar playing in that Jacksonville weather. If you got a bum knee, Let's get everything warmed up. Let's get everything, feeling loose and not Cincinnati weather.
And generally in a 2-game series, the loser of the first game, in my opinion, has the advantage in the second game. Usually learn the most by losing, even though, we lost. So we lost to the Jags. I feel like by nature of being humans, we take more from a failure than we do from a success. And, so that's a good point as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how that turns out. And like you said, a lot of it is just speculation till we figure out what happens Friday. But that's why, Glenn, I'll tell you what, my offensive breakout player of the game is the Baltimore Ravens training staff. Just keep them healthy. I don't care who's on the field. I mean, I do, but keep them healthy. I put that in there as a joke, but I'm serious as all get out, right? Like,
it's all that matters, right?
All that matters.
Because they're in.
Priority number one. Right.
And they can't go down to 7. So the only thing that could happen is we could find out that the Bengals have to play the Bills. And then this game does mean a lot because then you're competing for the possible division win.
Yeah.
Or if we see now the Chargers play at 4:00. So we won't know the result of that game when this game kicks off. So in theory, all we'll know is that the Ravens have a chance to maybe move up to 5, but that's it. So it kind of will be interesting. So to me, when I look at this matchup, let's hear what Boyce has to say. Boyce Evans says, fan base has no trust anymore. Shake my head. Lamar, big trust. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Like Jimmy said, you said it, Jimbo, 2-3 years ago. There's nothing I could have told you that would have had you thinking Lamar isn't going to be a Raven for the next decade.
Yeah.
But things obviously have changed in a big way.
Business is day to day. Business is day to day. So, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios we can kick around and things like that. Obviously, you guys know who the Bengals are. And like Anthony said, they're a healthy team.
They're good.
I mean, they're
a good team. They're not a good offense, they're a good team. They're good everywhere. I mean, on defense, Trey Hendrickson playing with a broken wrist, but still has a crazy pressure rate, still getting in the face of quarterbacks. Hubbard has 6.5 sacks. He's still, harassing quarterbacks. Jesse Bates and Von Bell, arguably the best safety tandem in the entire league. They're linebackers. I mean, you talk about Logan Wilson is an absolute tackling machine. The definition of playing with instincts over a great athleticism. Even next to him, Pratt, he's a pretty solid player. Their corners, hot and cold. I think that's their weakness on defense. Mm-hmm. Eli Apple is either hot or he's really ice cold and can be picked on. When I look back at the initial matchup, Mark Andrews had a field day. He had 8 catches I think he had over 100 yards. Didn't have Bateman in that game either. We still won, Jimbo. Right. With a combination of Mark Andrews and did have Devin Duvernay, who had 5 catches in that game. So they're going to miss his presence, but they're a good team. They're 21st against the pass. And 5th against the run, which is really shocking. Like, I think most teams would have figured those two things would be flipped, but they're actually really, really good against the run. And if you can if they can be had, then I think it's more so in the passing game, which is the area where the Ravens have had the biggest trouble exposing teams. So I don't know if this week is the week that they're going to do it, but yeah, it's a good defense, Jimbo. But let's just hope that the Ravens can get that run game back on track. And we've seen them run against good defenses before, and it just didn't matter how good they were. The Ravens were able to impose their will. Let's hope that's the case this week.
Yeah, and I think defense, give us your key on breakout game or breakout player offensively, Glenn.
Yeah, so my key is to develop some sort of confidence in the passing game. And I know it's tough because you don't want to show them much if this is going to be a repeat matchup the following week. But at the same time, don't you think, Jimbo, you got to develop some sort of confidence that if they're going to put 10 in the box like last week where they load up with defensive linemen and linebackers and have only 3 DBs on the field, don't you have to develop some sort of a confidence level that you can beat that one-on-one coverage on the outside when they're daring you to do so?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you run vanilla schemes, just say, my guy is going to get open against your one guy that you have guarding him. I mean,
right.
Something. And then my breakout player is Gus Edwards, only because of the logic of they didn't give him the ball last week, so they're going to force feed him the ball this week.
Yeah, I like it. I like that a lot. And I'll tell you what, my key to the game offensively is hold your cards. Greg, whatever is actually in that vault, don't be the idiot that unleashes the vault in this game. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just hold on to your cards. You know, we'll wait to see what happens in the playoff scenario. And of course, we'll wait to see tomorrow. But that's our offensive side of things. Defensively, obviously, you mentioned it, Glenn. They had a lot of guys offensively. We talked about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but I really quickly want to get to DK's comments. He mentioned that the Ravens are a descending team, and the Bengals are an ascending team. Now, DK, this is my only thing I'll say about this. Does anyone remember what happened in the do not pass portion of Lord of the Rings when Gandalf goes down?
No
one remembers. He looks
not.
like he's in the clear. And the creature that he's fighting with the fiery whip, right? He falls over the cliff, and what does he do? He cracks the whip one more time, and he catches Gandalf on the ankle. In dissension, right? So when people are passing in the night, you get one more go at it when you're in dissension, one more opportunity to see if you can still turn the car on and get.
Well, you're playing with house money too, right? Like if everyone's counting you out, you at least go into the game with a relatively free mind, knowing that, hey, if we win, we're shocking the world. If we lose, we were supposed to.
Well, and think about it. When a dog will bark, and bark. But if you ultimately put a dog in a corner, the most docile dog in the world is going to fight when they have nowhere to run, right? The Ravens have nothing left to do, nothing left to lose. So leave it all out on the field, man. Maybe that's just my fan speak, DK. But that's my hope anyway.
No, I like it. I think you're onto something because the tough part, though, is, man, they're just so damn scary offensively with their skill position players. And I think that's really what separates these two teams because I think the Ravens have the better offensive line. I think they have the better running backs. I mean, not that they're not talented. I think Joe Mixon's talented. P. Ryan's talented. But I'll take our guys over theirs. But the area in which they are so much more talented is on the outside. I mean, Jimbo, you look at like their yak yards. It is so insane how it's like no wonder Joe Burrow gets the ball out, quicker and is avoiding these sacks and these hits because he can throw it to Jamar Chase on a 5-yard hitch and he can make the cornerback miss, then make the safety miss and turn it into a 60-yard gain. And the same can be said for Boyd. The same can be said for T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins will just go up and over you, even if you have him well covered.
Right.
But they're just so incredibly talented. And what I love that they do, and I wish the Ravens would do more of it, they throw it to their damn running backs like crazy. They throw it to them like crazy, and they turn short nothings into long gains. And I just wish the Ravens would do more of it. I mean, the Ravens' leader in yak yards as a running back, Jimbo, it's still Kenyon Drake.
How crazy is that?
He's been inactive for how many weeks? He's still our leader in yak yards as a running back. Like, they have 100 catches between their running backs. They have 700 yards. Like, it just drives me crazy how we can't find guys that have some freaking wiggle in their game. And when we do, because I think we got them in the backfield, like JK, we just don't throw them the damn ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean Pisker says, my fear is and Glenn, I don't want to skip over your comment. I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, those are some real frustrations. Another quick anecdote. Yesterday, I was talking to my friend who's a big Niners fan about Greg Roman, and he was reading me story headlines from old reports from Bleacher Report when Greg Roman was the OC of the Niners.
Sounds exactly the same, doesn't it?
Exactly the same. Elementary passing.
How does he always catch lightning in a bottle his first year? Why doesn't defensive coordinators? That's the part that baffles me. Why don't they put on the tape? It's like he catches them all by surprise again.
Yeah.
How does he? I don't understand how that happens, but yet you can't. The sustainability is not there.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. I mean, goodness gracious. Anyway, I just was cracking up, dude. I couldn't help it. My fear, Sean Pisker says, my fear is teams in the playoffs will do exactly what Pittsburgh did, stack the box and dare wide receivers to be the reason we win, which honestly scares me. I get it. My only thing, though, Sean, is that I think if Lamar's playing, we've been in situations like that and had success, even with a unit similar to the one that we have now from a wide receiver perspective. I think that Lamar returning will help the run game a lot, but also obviously help the pass game, help Mark regain his dominance, and that'll do a lot to eliminate the possibility of just daring us to throw and do enough to be respectable in the passing game. So I'm hoping that Lamar can do that. But Glenn, I think what we got to do is we got to get to our competition here.
Well, hold on. We didn't even finish the defense or our offense.
Shoot, you're right. Yeah,
our defense, our defensive keys to the game.
All right. Yeah. My bad. Yeah. So, all right, let me talk about my defensive key to the game because I thought about this for a while real quick. I think zone coverage, what I saw a lot when I was watching the last game was a little tap dancing, a little nervousness in zone coverage. And I think it's funny because our keys, I think, match up really well. You got to stay focused and stay confident in zone coverage and trust your eyes and stop getting nervous. I think PQ struggles when he's left in space.
Mm-hmm.
And he's left with space to assign. He starts to second guess himself, or he's true, which I don't believe. He's truly uninterested in tackling that much, but he thinks quickly, or he moves too quickly without, he overruns things. And I think a few other guys do the same thing. So just staying focused in zone coverage. McDonald likes to play zone. It's new to us. So we've got to stay focused on our assignments in zone coverage. I think that's one of the things we're struggling on defensively.
Yeah, no doubt. I like it. How about your breakout player?
Oh, yeah. So my breakout player defensively is Odafe Owe because he would break out in an absolutely irrelevant game. That's exactly why I'm picking. He's going to have like 3 sacks.
Oh, wouldn't that be hilarious? You know what? You're so right about that. That's when he decides to have his breakout game.
Do all this stuff. And
yeah, my defensive key is tackling. I talked about their ability to run with the ball in their hands at really every level. Outside, the tight end can do it. I mean, we know Hayden Hurst and his ability. Yep. The running backs can both do it. So to me, it's about tackling. Got to get the guys on the ground. Can't let them turn short gains into long chunk plays. So just tackle well. I think Hamilton will be a big part of that. And let's hope that Roquan and Pat Queen have bounce back games because, man, and that's why I picked Roquan to be my defensive player. I think those 2 linebackers had a stinker of a game last week. And not just them. Also the edge group, I think, had a stinker of a game. The interior guys had some pass rush pressure, but they just didn't do a good enough job of taking up blockers and allowing their guys to make tackles. So they got embarrassed, I think, in the run game against a Steeler team that's not that great at running the ball. And I think they'll kind of take on this challenge and shut down a run game that they don't use a ton, but they may in this game because of the scenario and the unique circumstances. But I think also Roquan makes a difference in the coverage game. Last time we played the Bengals, Hayden Hurst was their leading receiver. He also had a touchdown catch. I think Roquan Smith's a big reason why they've been helping to shut down the middle of the field. And so I think he has a big game both against the run and against the pass. So let's get into our competition, Jimbo.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, before we get into this week, we want to celebrate and announce last week's winner. Which I think DK has the results loaded up for last week. Now, are we going to go over the over-unders or just simply announce? Okay, we'll just announce the winner. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Philip Linker. He was our Week 17 competition winner.
First-time winner, unless I'm mistaken, right? Yeah, first-time winner.
First-time winner. Yep, he has submitted his predictions via Instagram, and he was the champion. So congratulations. So simply send us another DM, Philip, of your shirt size and address so we can make sure we send out a bit of Ravens swag.
100%, man. And, of course, our in-show competition, I think we mentioned in the last one, was DK, so we got to give him some love as well. DK, you're now in what? Oh, look at that. 3 weeks in a row. Woo!
The cream always rises to the top, Jimbo.
So is that DK?
I mean, he's the reigning,
he's the
defending.
He's the
original.
Yeah.
Look at King Dan trolling, and he's not even good at it. Like, look at the comments. The worst troll. Bengals coaches are better. All right, thanks, King. I'm not even going to put him in timeout because it's just hilarious.
Weren't they? Didn't they have
troll. Who won the last game, King?
Well, and who? 3rd and 1 in the Super Bowl, right? Didn't they hand it off to P. Ryan?
See, look at that. I don't even believe in Joe Burrow. By the way, Joe Burrow, losing record. Shout out to James. Losing record against the Ravens in his career. But yeah, that's hilarious. So we're going to go over this week. But if you guys want to participate in our competition this week, simply send us a direct message at one of the social media handles above my head here. giving your over-under predictions and your closest to the pin guess, and then we'll announce next week's winner, or this week's winner next week when we do either our post-game wrap-up show or in the preview show like we're doing today. Just don't put it in the comment below, because when the live's over, it will erase. And if you do put it in the comments after this live is over and then have to make an adjustment to that comment, simply erase your comment and start with a new one so we can verify that the predictions were put in before the game started. So let's get into our competition. Our last competition for the year, the time when I'm making my move, Jimbo.
Yeah, wait, let me ask you a question. Has Lamar played more recently than you won a competition?
You keep bringing up bad news. I'm not going to
just-
harp
I
on whether Lamar's
sure.
playing or not. Stop
No,
bringing
I'm
up.
just saying.
See how I flipped it?
Is that the
I'm not gonna keep talking about the Lamar injury situation, Jimbo.
You're making me out to be the bad guy, huh?
That's a low move right there, Jimbo.
I know. What can I couldn't resist. All right, DK, what we got?
All right,
what we got?
Jimbo. Disappointed, bro. Go ahead and read it.
Yeah, over under.
Disappointed.
Gus Edwards rushing yards, 39.5. It's not because Gus is not. I mean, Gus is more than capable. He's my favorite Raven. You know that. I don't think he gets the snaps. I think this game's gonna be. Let's see who else we got.
It's gonna be the Kenyon Drake and
the Justice Hill show. Yeah. Why do otherwise? Under.
Well, I'm gonna bank on the fact that he's playing, and I'm gonna say over because I picked him to be my breakout player. Damn
I know you did.
So for that reason,
under normal circumstances, of course I take the over. And this is a
guy doesn't like Gus Edwards.
Who?
You.
Oh, you pointed the wrong way, fool.
Damn it. I pointed at the screen, like at you on my screen. But no, I mean, I'm going to say over because I'm a fan of Gus Edwards and I believe in our football team. All right. Next one. Ravens third efficiency. DK sets the over under at 39%. We're at 42% on the season. Over under, Jimbo.
Yeah, I'm going under here too because it's going to be Anthony Brown under center.
Man.
Period.
That might not be. That's not my reason, but I say under also.
Are you putting in your answers after I do?
I'm putting them in as I go. Look, I already got the next one in.
All right, I'm going to have to start calling you intern Brad.
I'm one ahead. Relax.
All right. What we got next, DK? Over under Ravens tackles for loss, 3.5 tackles for loss. I'm going over on this one, Glenn, because Odafe Oweh is going to ball out for no apparent reason.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is. I say under because I haven't.
And what if they play their backup quarterback?
I say under. Still.
All right. Fair enough.
Still, because I think we'll counter with some backups, but I also because I think this edge group's been lackluster as of late. Haven't been seeing a lot of pressure. And I think that not only do we see a relatively vanilla offensive scheme, if this game ultimately ends up being meaningless, I think we see that same scheme philosophy on the defensive side. I don't see Mike McDonald sending the DBs and the linebackers who have been responsible for most of the recent sacks. It's been the safeties, the corners, and the middle linebackers, not the edge. In fact, Metabike has been making more noise from the interior than we have from the edge group. So I think that the vanilla style and the fact that I think we'll lose, why is Justin Houston playing this game? If it ultimately ends up being a meaningless game, let's let the young guys, let's see what Ajabo's got. If he's healthy, why not? Let's see what the guy's got. And so I think for that reason, I'm going to say under. All right, let's go to the next one. QB hits. Ravens had 7.5 or 9 QB hits last game. Will they have more or less than 7.5, Jimbo?
Yeah, I'm going over on this one too because it's gonna be like a preseason game. I feel like things are gonna happen that people are not gonna expect to happen. There'll be some sloppiness, and yeah, I'm going over.
All right, I say under for the same reasons I just talked about with the tackles for loss.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go under. All right, first tiebreaker. We got the score over.
Really quickly, Glenn. Did you see the official announcement?
No.
The official announcement, according to Jeff Zrebeck, league officially announces the Bengals-Bills will not be resumed. So Ravens will officially finish second in the AFC North, and Sunday's game will only matter in terms of whether Ravens stay at 6 seed or move up to 5. So it's the exact scenario we talked about.
Man, that's such a difference, though, going to 5. and going to Jacksonville versus going to Cincinnati. I mean, I think most people would consider the Jacksonville game the far easier matchup of the two, considering not just what Cincy's done this year, but also coming off of a Super Bowl berth last year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you there. So the Ravens might actually have something to fight for, but it'll be interesting to see how they play it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right. So for the score, I'm going to say under 40.5. Yeah, because I don't think the Ravens are scored very many points at all. So unless the Bengals really pour it on, I think it's going to be look at you, Jimbo. Picking the Bengals to beat us.
Yeah, first time in history on the show, the Bengals will win this game 23-17 because I don't think the Ravens, I don't think it matters to them 5th or 6th seed if injury is a concern. Like, I would rather just have Ronnie and Gus and JK ready to go and Lamar and, you know what I mean, those things. So on the priority list of things, health is number one. So 23-17, I'm taking the under. My math is right. 40 points exactly.
Yep.
So I'm going with a Bengals victory, and I hate doing it. Trust me, it hurts.
I remember you picking the Chiefs before. All right.
Oh, right. Mr. Gaslighter.
Second tiebreaker is the total yards for the Ravens. We pick closest to the pin. I'm going to say 288. I think it's my lowest prediction all year. And honestly, I could have. I first was about to type in 275. Yeah,
well, I put 329. So look at me. I'm Mr. Positive, bro.
40 whole yards more.
But look, ladies and gentlemen, like Glenn said, make sure you participate in the over-under. Wait, Glenn, so who are you picking to win?
I didn't say that, Jimbo.
Yeah, who are you picking to win? We can't gloss over that. What's your score, dude?
Damn it, Jimbo. I said under. Okay. I don't have to pick a winner, do I?
Wait a second. Of course you do.
I picked the Ravens to win the game, Jimbo. I'm a Ravens fan. I believe in my team. I think.
Yeah, except against the Chiefs in primetime.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think with all the odds against them, they shocked the world, Jimbo. They beat the Bengals because the Bengals ain't playing for anything either.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, they're locked, right?
Yeah.
So I like it. If you're telling me if there's no way they can get the 1 seed, then yeah, what do they have to play for? So I guess that's a good point. All right. Well, I think that's it for us. Make sure you guys participate in the competition as well. Last one of the season. So much to talk about. Of course, we'll be there right after the game. Make sure you guys enjoy it. All you guys who came out: Numra, Fabian Barcenas, Finn, Amber Alert. Who else we got in here?
Oh, we finally saw Lisa Ann back. It'd been a while. Lisa Ann, it was good seeing you in here.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed your holidays. Let's see, Truth Bearer, King Dan, all you guys that were in here, we appreciate it so much. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We will see you after the game.
Oh, hold on.
What's up?
That last comment, is that true?
What's that? No, it is not. No, it is not.
No, it's not? Okay.
It can't be. DK, can you suss this real quick?
Oh, Bill's holding a news conference. RIP. No way.
No.
Let me see here. I mean, is anyone? Oh, man.
What are you saying?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at all these things. Let me see. It's not real. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything on Twitter that's credible.
Okay. I just was seeing people confirming it in the chat. I was getting nervous here. It's a fake channel. Come on, man.
All right.
Come on. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything on Twitter. I'm assuming that would be the #1 news story. So I'm going to operate as if that is a troll job. Yeah, because he says go to Jeff. Let me see. Let me just pull up Jeff because that's our guy. Jeff would know. He would put it out there, I'm sure, as quick. Yeah, I don't see anything about that from Jeff. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything either.
Okay. All right, cool. Woo! Yeah, not after all the positive news coming out. I did not want to hear that. Holy smokes. That would have been absolutely devastating. But that's it for us tonight.
Yep.
We look forward to seeing you guys after the game, win or loss, no matter who's playing. We will be here. And then, of course, we'll start to talk about the playoff scenarios and seeding and the matchup that they ultimately will end up being with. So that's it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate your participation. Have a good night.